we see the impact of increased leverage on the overall cost of capital. So, stage one under the traditional approach approved or was in consonance with the NI approach that increased leverage would lead to a reduction in the overall cost of capital to some extent. We reach the optimum capital structure beyond the percentage of leverage at optimum capital structure. Now, when you increase the debt, then a status quo is reached where the added advantage of debt is offset by the increased cost of equity. And then in stage three, what we see is that more and more debt as added to the capital structure leads to an increase not only in the cost of equity but also in the cost of debt, thereby leading to an increase in the overall cost of capital. Now, traditional approach, as already told, takes a mid path between the extreme views of capital structure relevance and irrelevance decision. The basis of the theory covered. Now we move to one question on traditional approach. If you have a look in this question, your company has an EBIT of 3 lakh rupees with an outstanding debt of 12 lakh and the cost of equity is given. You need to find out the current value of the firm using the traditional valuation approach. Then the overall cost of capital needs to be calculated. And then you have one decision question. In the last part, what we will do is you can start with the first part of the question, prepare a simple income statement and calculate the value of the firms. Start solving. Okay, so when you solve the overall value of the firm here is coming to 24 lakh. So with 12 lakh as a debt, we are getting the value of equity also as 12 lakh. Moving ahead, in the second part of the question, you need to calculate the overall capitalization rate. So value is equal to EBIT upon KO. Using this formula, you put in the values of EBIT and V, and you get KO as 12.5%. Okay. So I hope till this point it is absolutely clear. We move to the third part of the question. Read very carefully. The question says that the firm is considering to issue capital of 4 lakh in order to redeem 4 lakh debt. So the firm wants to reduce the debt from 12 lakh to 8 lakh, and for this 4 lakh required, it is planning to issue equity in the market. Now the cost of debt will remain the same, but the cost of equity capital will be 13%. So from 15% now it will fall to 13%. Do you recommend this proposal? Now, when a proposal related to capital structure is before you, what you will see is whether the implementation of proposal leads to a fall in overall cost of capital and therefore an increase in the value of firm or not. So our focus will be to see what is the change in the valuation as well as the overall cost of capital. It means you are again preparing an income statement, taking into consideration these values. Interest, EBIT remains the same, 3 lakh. Interest will now be on rupees 8 lakh. तो 80,000 आपका इंटरेस्ट हो जाएगा 10% of rupees 8 lakh. As already told, debt is now 8 lakh rupees, and you are also given that cost of equity will fall to 13%. So this brings the cost of equity to 16 lakh 92,308, and the total value of the firm comes to 24 lakh 92,308. Accordingly, the cost of capital will be 12.03%. Okay, so the same steps with different cost of equity and amount of debt, you get a higher value and a lower cost of capital. Hence, this proposal should be accepted. So yes, we recommend the implementation of this proposal. Okay, so take a minute, complete the question, and then we move to the next part, next chapter. Okay, so we now move to the next chapter, which is on dividend decisions. So, till now, what we know is that there are three main decisions in financial management, starting with the investment decision, followed by the financing decision. So till capital structure, what we have discussed is what comes under the financing decision, and thereafter the third decision is the dividend decision. So you have raised funds, you have invested them, now your firm has some net profit, and after payment of, say, the interest on debt, dividend to preference shareholders, now what to do with the earnings available to equity shareholders? So there you decide on the dividend payout ratio, and that percentage per se involves a lot of calculation. So you earned some profit, you made payment to the debt holders, you paid taxes to the government, you paid preference dividend. Now you come to this point. You decide how much should be the dividend payout ratio, and then you get to know that what will be the retained earnings of the firm. So if 20% is the DP, are the retained earnings of the firm. What is very important is to understand how crucial this decision is. If the firm is retaining earnings, not distributing dividends, then what the shareholders expect is a constant capital appreciation. On the other hand, if earnings are completely distributed, then that also shows inhibition or a question mark over what are the future investment plans of the firm. A firm which is distributing dividend like at, say, 100% rate, then is it really planning anything for the future? That question comes in mind. How stable is the firm? Very important, and we look into this decision again from the perspective of different theories given to us. So you have two schools of thought. One which says that dividend decisions are very relevant because your DP ratio will have an impact on the market price of the share. And then there is another section of theories which says that dividend decision is not relevant. So whatever is gained by distribution of dividend, by receipt of cash in the hand of the shareholders, they lose that when the firm goes for a fresh issue of equity. So market value ultimately converges and remains the same. We will first start with the dividend element theory, or the theory, first theory that says that dividends are important, they are relevant, and they directly impact the share prices of the firm, is the Walter model. Now, the Walter is saying that there is a relationship between AO, between the internal rate of return of the firm. So now it is represented by R. Internal rate means the return on investment made by the firm. and its cost of capital in determining the dividend policy that will maximize the wealth of shareholders. So, maximization of shareholder wealth is the prime objective, and Walter model says that no new debt or equity will be issued. That is one of the assumptions. IRR and K is constant, and the firm has a long infinite life. So with this assumptions, the Walton model says that the dividend firm decision or the relationship between internal rate of return and overall cost of capital can be seen through three relationship patterns which we see are: first, I repeat, R is the return on investment earned by the firm, and K is the overall cost of capital. Now, first point says if R, that is what the firm can earn, is greater than what the funds are costing to the firm, then such a firm is a growth firm. ग्रोथ फर्म इन दी सेंस कि ये फर्म जो इन्वेस्टमेंट कर रही है उस पे बहुत अच्छा रिटर्न अर्न कर रही है, एंड बहुत अच्छा रिटर्न का मतलब ये है कि अगर कॉस्ट 10% रही है इन रेजिंग दी फंड्स, the return on investment is say somewhere around 12-13%, something like that. So such a firm is a growth firm. जो पैसा उनके पास आ रहा है वो उस पे additional income earn कर रहे हैं. And for a growth firm, the ideal dividend payout ratio is 0%. Such a firm should retain all the earnings and reinvest them. Second, just the stark opposite is a declining firm. Declining firm का मतलब क्या हुआ? वो firm जो अपनी रिटर्न ऑन इन्वेस्टमेंट को लूज आउट कर रही है, एंड the cost of capital is actually higher than the return on investment. So this firm is not able to earn profits on the investment made. This is a declining firm, and for a declining firm, the best thing is to distribute all the dividends. There's no point of keeping the funds bear the cost because ultimately the return is not matching the cost, and this is a declining firm. Midway in between is when the return on investment is equal to the cost of capital. So this is a normal firm, and I'll show this to you practically also that in this case any dividend payout ratio you take, the market price of the share remains the same. Okay, moving ahead.
एक्सक्यूज मी मैम,
Yes, Pranav.
मैम ये डीपी रेशियो 0 और 100 वाला समझ नहीं आया, एक बार दोबारा बता देना प्लीज।
जीपी रेशियो का मतलब क्या है कि कितना डिविडेंड आपको डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करना चाहिए। अगर आपकी फर्म ग्रोइंग है, आपके पास आगे इन्वेस्टमेंट अपॉर्चुनिटीज हैं, तो ऐसी फर्म को फिलहाल के लिए डिविडेंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूट नहीं करना चाहिए, उसको रिटेन करके री इन्वेस्ट करना चाहिए। So ideal dividend payout ratio will be 0%. This means when we solve practically, you can see that the value of share is highest at 0% DP ratio.
मतलब ये इन हैंड में नहीं देंगे, बैलेंस शीट के अंदर हमारे शेयर के अंदर ऐड कर देंगे, शेयर वैल्यू इंक्रीज होगी फर्स्ट केस
हाँ,
में।
शेयर वैल्यू इंक्रीज होगी, वो बेटर रहेगा, डिविडेंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूट नहीं करना चाहिए।
और लास्ट केस में डिविडेंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूट कर देंगे, शेयर कंसिस्टेंटली सेम अमाउंट पे ट्रेड करेगा।
हाँ, सेम या कम पर भी कर सकता है, वो तो मार्केट का क्या रिस्पॉन्स आता है। पर फर्म इंटरनली कुछ अच्छा अर्न नहीं कर पा रही रिटर्न इन्वेस्टमेंट पे, तो फर्म के लिए बेटर ये है कि इंस्टेड ऑफ incurring losses through investment, they should at least keep the shareholders happy and distribute 100% profits to them.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so this is the formula D plus R by K E minus D, where K stands for the overall cost of capital of the firm, R is the internal rate of return, and E earning per share, and D is dividend per share. Okay, so before we wind up the theory, there are certain criticism also. So when a theory is based on assumptions, then criticism is always there. So for the Walter model, the first criticism is that the theory assumes that there are no sources of external finance. तो अगर फर्म के सामने इन्वेस्टमेंट अपॉर्चुनिटीज हैं, firm will not approach a bank, not go for a fresh issue of equity, and will not go to private equity फर्म और समथिंग लाइक दैट एंड एंजल इन्वेस्टर किसी के पास नहीं जाएगी. फर्म के लिए सिर्फ एक सोर्स ऑफ फंड है, वो है जो पैसा वो रिटेन कर लेता है एंड नॉट डिस्ट्रीब्यूट दैट एज डिविडेंड. Apart from that, the internal rate of return, that is your return on investment, are assumed to be constant, and conclusion of retaining 100% of earnings. So that was the case of a growth firm. So the theory says that the assumptions are unrealistic. That being the biggest negative of the Walter model. So we will stop here. We will take up practical questions on Walton model tomorrow and proceed with the other theories of dividend.